They say you don't know a man's pain unless you walk a mile in his shoes. But you can't walk a mile in Shannon Sharpe's shoes because that wouldn't do it justice. You need to walk 20 years in my life. You need to walk 20 years in this body to feel this raging inferno that I felt to get out of Glenville, to leave that 1,000 square foot cinder block home with the cement floors, to leave where my grandmother say, baby, is it gonna be the gas this month that I'm gonna pay, or is it gonna be the lights? Do you wanna eat or do you want lights to see so you can do your homework? Son, do you want the phone just in case there's an emergency we can call somebody? What is it gonna be this month? That drove me. That drove me. Nobody ever knew how much this 5-alarm fire raged inside of me. My sister didn't know, my brother didn't know, but it raged. I had to leave Glenville. I had to make a better way for my brothers, for my sister, for my mom. I didn't want my kids to live 1 hour, not 1 hour in the life that I had, let alone a day. And I neglected my kids. I missed recitals, I missed football practice, I missed graduations because I was so obsessed with being the best player I could possibly be that I neglected a lot of people. I ruined a lot of relationships. But I'm not here to apologize for that because it got me here and it got them to a life they never would have enjoyed had it not been for that. I want to leave you with this. My position coach who's sitting right there in the stand, Les Steckel, once asked me, he said, son, why do you work so hard? Every time at lunch, you're not eating, you're in the gym, you're working out. You study harder, you practice harder, you have more fun. I said, Les, I never want to eat cold oatmeal again. I said, you don't know what it's like, Les, to grow up like I grew up, to eat the animals that I ate. I remember eating raccoon. I remember eating possum. I remember eating squirrel and turtle. I remember those days. I said, I ate that now as a kid, but I'm not gonna have to eat that when I become an adult. And the one story I wanna leave you with to tell you why I became this person. When I was 12 years old, I told my mom, I said, Mom, I'm gonna have some money one day and I'm gonna buy you a Mercedes, and I did. When I came and I asked my grandmother, I said, Granny, what do you want? She always called me her baby. She never called me by my name. I said, you want me to buy you a car and teach you how to drive? She said, no, son, I don't want that. I said, Granny, do you want jewelry? She said, no, son, I don't want that. She said, son, I want a decent house. And I'm thinking, I said, well, my grandmother wants 7,000, 8,000 square feet. But then I knew my grandmother, knowing her like I know her, after pausing for 5 or 6 minutes, I said, Granny, what is a decent home? And I remember it like yesterday, and it was 30 plus years ago. She said, son, I want a decent home. And her words verbatim is, she said, son, I want to go to bed one night. And she said, I want God to let it rain as hard as he possibly can. And I want him to let it rain all night long. And she said, I want to wake up and not be wet. That's a decent home for my grandmother. That's all she wanted. See, for 66 years, my grandmother never went to bed and have it rain and not be wet the next morning. See, I remember those days of putting the plastic coats on the bed. And I'm going to date myself, the croaker sacks, but now we call them burlap bags. I remember that. I remember putting the pots and pans on the floor to catch the rainwater, the very pots and pans that we're going to cook in the next day. I remember that. It broke my heart that my grandmother, all she wanted, she got 2 grandboys that's making $1 million, and she wanted a house that wouldn't leak. That's all she wanted. That's all my grandmother wanted. For 2 boys that's making millions, and all you want is a decent house, you want to go to bed and not get wet when you wake up. That's what drove Shannon. That's what got me here.